Welcome to Biztalk'22, an interview series organized by the Commerce Society of Royal College, where we have an insightful chat with a highlighted business personnel. Our speaker joining us today has a distinguished career in corporate affairs management, including consistent pitching of major news angles to business media, having dynamically contributed to strengthening a major bank in Sri Lanka's economy. He is an associate member of the Institute of Bankers in Sri Lanka, a master's degree holder in business administration specializing in marketing, and a proud product of St. Thomas's College, Mount Lavinia. Ladies and gentlemen, the Managing Director of Sampath Bank PLC, Mr. Nanda Fernando. It is with great pleasure that we welcome you, sir, and many thanks for taking time out of your busy schedule to join with us today.
Yes.
So, I am Durvanga Rammalo, the host of this episode, and sir, we actually have quite a plethora of topics to grasp in this interview. So, for my first question, as a leading commercial bank in the country with a rich heritage of 36 years, how does the Sampath Bank contribute to the national economic growth in terms of supporting individuals and businesses in the country?
Yes, Dulanta, now actually Sampath Bank, from the day it was incorporated in 1987, we understood the national priorities of the country, and basically banking is what we look forward through banking is to help the society, the people to upgrade their lifestyles, the individuals, and for the businesses to improve their productivity, improve their profitability, and be contributing to the GDP of the country. So this is something that we have been focusing upon from the day one of the bank in 1987, and from our commencing days, we changed the landscape in banking. At a time the banking was totally done manually, where every transaction was written on the statement which is posted to the customer and on a ledger sheet. Every transaction is entered manually, added, balanced, and the process of banking was very much more complicated than what it is today. So we were the first to automate the banking industry in 87, and from that day we look into the needs of the customers, how we can improve their productivity by improving the convenience methods, introducing how they can, if it is a manufacturer, how they could manufacture things more conveniently by using the systems. When I mean systems, it's more or less it's the IT systems, and how companies and individuals can make use of IT and produce their production, whatever it is, in a more convenient, in a more less costly manner. By that they are able to improve their profit margins and compete internationally. So as a result of it, they are able to contribute handsomely to the GDP of the country, which will help the country to improve its reserves, and for the individuals or the companies also to survive consistency. So consistency is something that all the companies or the individuals should be looking forward, and we assist the customers in providing their equity requirements, in providing their working capital requirements for them to do their whatever the businesses, whether it's a trading business or whether it is agriculture, for all segments, the individuals, the SME segments and the corporates, and we feel that we have a responsibility to help people to manage their businesses, and that is the purpose of the bank. Why we are there is to help and upgrade the lifestyles of the individuals and the businesses of Sri Lanka.
So do what the bank does best and help the businessman, right?
Exactly. We ensure that we make use of the experience that we have acquired to assist our customers. We also help them to those who produce, we help them to sell, we assist them to exhibit their products, we assist them in marketing, we introduce our IT systems, the internet banking payment gateways, which helps them to reach a wider market locally and globally and achieve their objectives.
Okay. So you mentioned quite a few times this technological aspect of banking, which actually it's actually not something now. All other banks and most other sectors of the world have gotten into this race of technology quite recently. But Sampath Bank has been recognized as the trendsetter in the local banking arena, and they were the first to introduce automated teller machines to Sri Lanka branded as SET. And also MasterCard, personal banking unit facilities, unibanking systems and debit cards. How would you explain these technological advancements in achieving a competitive edge in the game?
Well, as I told you, when Sampath Bank started, we did certain major 5 changes to the banking industry. Firstly, we started with an automated platform as opposed to the manual systems which prevailed. And as a result of it, we were able to introduce unibanking. Unibanking is a customer who makes a deposit from one branch is able to withdraw this money from any other branch other than the branch or including the branch where it is deposited. So this made a huge change. Secondly, we introduced the first ATM network in Sri Lanka, which enabled customers to withdraw money 24 hours by 365 days. Thirdly, we started paying interest on a daily balance basis. Previously in the banking industry, on savings accounts, the interest was paid on the monthly minimum balance. For example, if you had a savings account, your savings account balance fluctuated. If it had 1 million rupees for 28 days in a month and the balance dropped to 100,000 on the 29th day, for that entire month you were paid interest only on that 100,000, which was the minimum balance in the account. But Sampath Bank changed this. Sampath Bank started paying for that 1 million for the 28 days, and for the if it dropped to 100,000 on the 28 days for that 100,000 on the 28 days, again if it went to 500,000 on the 29th, 30th and 30th day for that balance. So meaning the day end balance. So this also made a huge change. Apart from that, we increased the banking hours. So in the good old days before we started in 1807, banking was on Mondays, it was from 8:30 till 1 o'clock. And on other days, it was from 8:30 till 1:30. But when Sampath started, from our day 1, we started to work till 3 o'clock. When you say 3, we had customers until about 4 o'clock inside the bank. So the working hours were extended. Then subsequently, we went into introducing the credit cards, the MasterCard initially, and several products very specially based on internet banking. So this made a huge differentiation, made banking more approachable to the public, made banking more cheaper to the public, and it prompted for more and more people who were underbanked and unbanked to come into this system and be engaged with the banking system so that they are able to improve their businesses or the lifestyles.
Okay, so you solved a lot of problems along the way, and as a result, you all are here where you are now. So now the bank's vision states the growing force in Sri Lankan financial services. Am I right?
Yes.
So in achieving this bank's vision, what technological, now you've highlighted quite a few things that you all have done from the past, Sampath Bank as a bank and a corporation you all have done since the past to the present. So what novel concepts are you using today in the present day, which is of course everyone wants to know the new and improved, quite exciting technology.
Yes, so basically technology has been the backbone of Sampath Bank. Over the years, we ensured that technology be the platform of our banking. And a few years back, at least 5 years back, we changed the concept from the previous concept of being a bank engaged in technology. We changed into a technology company engaged in banking. So this was a major concept change what we did approximately 5 years ago. And when we set up this vision about 10 years ago, or even a little earlier, we were not the fastest growing bank. So we wanted to ensure that we were the fastest growing bank among the financial services. So this is why this vision was set up. We worked according to a plan, and today we are the fastest growing bank among the private sector banks. So we set up a vision, we evaluated where we were, we found the gap in order to reach that vision, worked on it strategically, and ultimately we have now achieved to be growing as the fastest growing bank among the private sector banks.
So systematic growth brought you where you are, and it's quite evident that Sampath Bank is definitely exactly what you stated right now. Just by walking outside, you can immediately see all the ATMs and such. So now we've talked about Sampath Bank and the influence that the bank has on the GDP, as well as the bank's major interest in the technological field. As you said, that Sampath Bank is a now technological company engaging in banking. Am I right?
Yes, yes.
So now, as a bank and as a company in this country, the country's economy, I believe, greatly affects your day-to-day activities, right? So now, and it's no surprise that today's country's economical standpoint is very turbulent. Sri Lanka is facing one of the worst forex crises since our independence, and the foreign reserves have been depleted to a record low level. So, as a veteran banker, what do you think that we should do? What do you think will mitigate this situation and arrest the situation? What strategies do you have?
Well, if you go back to see why we have to face this situation today, if we are to find a solution to this, we need to know what were the causes for this. So basically, when 3 years ago we had the Easter bombings in Sri Lanka, and as a result of it, the tourism was affected very badly in the year 2019. Then subsequently, during the 2020 and 21, as we all know, the pandemic came across, and again tourism was affected very badly. So we were receiving about $4 billion per annum, and these 3 years itself took us this $12 billion away from our national revenue. Apart from this, one of the major reasons what affected the reserves to drop is the balance of payments issue we had, very especially in the trading account. Sri Lanka is traditionally an economy over the last 30-40 years, at least yes, around since we opened the economy in 78, we were dependent on imported raw materials for production and export. Even some of the food we consume, which we were growing on our own, we shifted to be dependent on imported stuff. So as a result of it, our import bill increased to almost double of the export revenue or more, which created a balance of payment deficit. Now this deficit, together with the drop in the revenue streams, collectively contributed to the drop of the reserves. Apart from that, the pandemic made certain services very costly, because the transport and travelling was very badly affected. As a result of that, the freight services and the import of raw material cost increased, and as a result of all this, very recently the dollar regulated rates were relaxed. As a result of it, the regulated prices were relaxed, and there was a depreciation of almost 52% in the rupee. So this has made things very tough for us to import anymore, and as a result of it, the conditions what we see today has become reality, because we have to import our largest import bills cost are on account of fuel. This due to not having sufficient, not generating sufficient foreign exchange through tourism, exports and etc. We have found it difficult to have sufficient foreign exchange for imports. So therefore, what we have got to do is, as soon as possible, we have got to ensure that we improve our revenue streams, like promoting of tourism, various exports, which will generate foreign exchange on one hand. On the other hand, we have to curtail, we have to limit our imports to only essentials. So while we are doing this, we have to ensure that we have taken as a nation a lot of debt. Now due to our foreign reserves dropping, the ratings of the international rating agencies have downgraded us. What happens is, when a country is downgraded, the lenders don't give that amount of funding to the country as much as they were doing before, because we are now considered a high risk country, and generally people will be reluctant to give money to somebody or a country who is of a higher risk. So even though the higher risk and we don't get new lending coming in our way, we have got to pay the debts what we have taken in the past. So at a time when we could borrow while we are repaying, this wouldn't have been an issue. But when the new lending doesn't come in, but you have to keep on paying this, at a time the generation of foreign exchange has also dropped, it has become an issue. So that is the status we are faced today, and to overcome this, we would have to go through a process of restructuring the debt in one way. So restructuring is one of the inevitable solutions we will have to follow today. Secondly, we will have to have a lot of fiscal policy and monetary policy adjustments being made, and we have already seen the interest rates rising. The treasury bill auction which happened 2 days ago, we saw the 1-year rate increasing by 3.1%, and that was the highest ever over the last 25 years. So we have seen the interest rates increasing. So the belief is that there will be some control coming into the exchange rate as a result of this, and we have got to ensure that the interest rates are managed so that the production and investment is not curtailed. So a combination of the application of all this may help us to gradually build reserves and get over the issue we have faced.
So plan a proper structure and stick to that structure and finally get out of this problem that we're facing, which, as you said, is just a account of bad circumstances at a very bad time that we are facing. Right. So you had some quite insightful advice towards this situation and how to arrest this situation. So now, in addition to the forex crisis nowadays, the banking sector is facing numerous challenges. Am I right?
Yes.
So, in your view, what are the most significant challenges that the industry is facing?
Well, the challenge that the banking industry is facing is the challenge which our customers and the people in the country face. If the people in the country is not facing any issues, then the banks would generally not face any issues. Good times for the people are good times for the banks, and bad times for the people are bad times for the bank. So when the people face issues, they would find it difficult continuously to pay their loans, and they will have difficulty, and as a result of not paying loans, they will not be eligible to get more and more funding from the banks. As a result, those who do not have sufficient working capital and are dependent on the banks for working capital, they will have a lot of issues. And also we have seen that the interest rates are rising currently. Higher interest rates meaning higher cost of production.
Being a presidential scout and the scout motto itself, be prepared, how does it influence you in achieving your career objectives?
Well, I joined this movement as a young scout when I was 10 years old, and at college I got early opportunity to lead patrol of scouts, meaning 8 to 10 scouts. So I very willingly took over this opportunity and challenge and started leading small groups of people. So from there I got the opportunity to lead the scout troop at college as a troop leader. Then at the Colombo Scout Camporees I got the opportunity to lead 25-30 schools at once as a sub-camp chief, and then I went on to be a scout leader and continued the training programs, and subsequently I ended up as a leader trainer and currently as the National Training Commissioner for Scout movement in Sri Lanka. So when you become a scout, you get opportunity to move around anywhere, and during our younger ages, the terrorism was not up to the level that we would have seen little over 10 years ago. So the environment was very much safer, and I loved the great outdoors. So as a result, during my scouting career, I have basically climbed all the mountains in Sri Lanka. I have paddled over a couple of rivers, streams. Then I have gone to almost all the jungles and forests in Sri Lanka, and basically I have camped out almost all over in Sri Lanka for almost over, I would say, 1000 nights. So when you camp outside in the open air, you come across various challenges. Sometimes, challenges from the weather, sometimes challenges from the animals in the jungles, and sometimes, a lot of obstacles. So when you go on into hiking and camping and trekking, you face the obstacles and you find ways and means to overcome the obstacles by yourself. So these opportunities make you strong, make you think differently, and I always believed that the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. You have to have the positive attitudes. So we practiced these attitudes and the need to focus on what you do. The need, I always believe that one should have a dream in life. Whether you call it a vision in the modern names, you must have a dream, and then you must focus in achieving your dream. And that focused effort should not be once in a way. That focus should be very consistent. So basically, if you have a dream which is not easy to catch by your hands, it should be a little difficult for you to grab, and then you must have a focus towards achieving that. And if your focus is consistent, I don't think there is anything which can stop you and prevent. So therefore, from my younger days, I worked on this commitment with positive attitudes and believing that the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. And I believe it is those processes which have made me and given a little more exposure and additional experience to do what I am doing now in a different environment. But the opportunities I got through the Scout movement, I would value to a very great extent, as was very, very useful for me.
The man who wins is the man who thinks he can. So you obviously thought that you can, and now here you are at the final point of the race, clearly a winner. Okay, so now you're a distinguished product of St. Thomas's College. I'm sure no one will disagree with that. And a senior banker who navigates one of the largest banks in the country, Sampath Bank. We've glided through almost most of those aspects or most of those topics, and now we are here. You, Mr. Fernando, what is your message to the next generation of Mother Lanka?
Well, all of us, the young children and the adults in the country, has to believe that they all have a national duty, and the discharge of this national duty would be different by each one of them. A child will be able to contribute in a different manner, an adult in a much different manner. But they all have got to learn to earn their living, for which you must not be dependable on anyone else. So you have to be productive, and that productivity has to be delivered consistently. So if each one of us, the Sri Lankans, believe that we should be a part and parcel of a contributor to the GDP of the country, and if all 22 million people, whatever age, as and when they are able to contribute to the national economy, starts contributing consistently, I am sure the country will be a very prosperous one. We need policies to be implemented in the country so that whichever the government comes into the force, the same policies will continue. And if all of us work with positive attitudes, with commitment and with national interest, I am pretty sure that Sri Lanka will be one of the prosperous countries in this Southeast Asia.
So continuous policies, continuous productivity and working for who you are. And with that, I would like to thank you so much, sir, for joining with us today. Your presence and your wise words helped to magnify our cause in the best possible way. And it also will help us massively to make this project a huge success. So I thank you once again. And we look forward to our next interaction soon. Wishing you all the best for your future endeavors.
Thank you, and I wish you, the Royal College Commerce Society, all the very best. And your college is one of the best schools in the country, which has produced several national leaders in the past. So we believe that you continue, the school continues such efforts, and the school continue to produce national heroes who will help Sri Lanka to get back to track one day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.